Mama se kungi betengo we kumoyi ingumada takana. Okyoso kinu kibanga se Manuele ngando mushisamye. Manuele.
Hey, booby, you got somewhere to be. Hey, booby. Hey.
All right, hello, and welcome to the 32nd episode of the Two Left Feet podcast. This episode is going to be amazing. I was so blessed to have on the wonderful Miss Tania Mendonca, who is an amazing Kizomba instructor. This interview is gonna have to be broken up into two separate parts. I have about maybe 2.5 hours of just video with her. That's how amazing the conversation was, dude. Oh my goodness. I mean this as no disrespect to any of my previous guests, but this was, probably one of my favorite episodes right here, man. Amazing episode. I love how she knows so much and she has a story. Unfortunately, a story of some pain and some joy as well, but so much knowledge this lady knows, so much experience, so many things that she has to say, man. At the end of it, she told me, she was like, after 2 hours of talking, she was still say, there were things that she forgot to say, things she wished she had said, man. So, oh my gosh, amazing episode. In this episode, we talked about growing up in Angola. We talked about leaving Angola for Portugal. We talked about being raised in Portugal. We talked about colorism. We talked about colorism in Africa. We talked about Kizomba, Semba, Zouk, Jenga. So much in this episode. If you are a fan of Kizomba, you're going to love this episode. Like I said, I have to break it up into two parts. So this is going to be part A, and then I'll upload part B next time. But dude, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to bring this to you. Episode 32, part A, with the wonderful Miss Tania Mendonca. Hey, all right. So I am now on the line with Miss Tania Mendonca, who is a teacher. Oh, hold on, let's check it out. You are a teacher, a choreographer, you're a thinker, you're a motivator, you're a fundraiser, you're a mother, and you're an event organizer. Yeah.
Hey. Yes.
but you, hey, okay, but you specialize in teaching the culture, music, and dance of Kizomba and Semba. Is that correct?
That is right.
Okay. Yeah. So you are the founder of Kizomba Reading and the co-founder of Kizomba for Life Charity, and you currently live in London. Is that right?
No, actually, I just relocated to Lisbon.
Oh, okay, Portugal.
Yeah. So
okay.
I did live in London in UK for 22 years. 23 years, 23.
Oh, that's a long time.
And then, but Lisbon is where I grew up, and I just moved in December, actually.
And what made you want to move back?
I want to spend more time with my mom.
Yeah, of course, I understand that completely.
So I don't, that's kind of the main. I just didn't make sense. I mean, UK was okay for the time that my daughter was growing up. She was born there, and there was my brother is there and his family is there, and it made sense for a while. But now she's kind of grown up and doing it, and it felt right. And when you come as you're getting older, you're starting to realize that what actually matters is family.
Okay.
And I wanted to create some good memories while mom's still around.
Of course.
Yeah, so that is literally the main reason. It's just family. I want to see my nephews growing up. I want to see and I enjoy her more. No other reason.
I'm curious. You were born in Angola, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
And so is your mother Angolan? Your mother and your father?
My mother, my grandfathers, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, my grandparents, my uncles.
Okay.
Family is Angola.
Okay, that's awesome.
My granddads, both of my granddads they're both Portuguese. Apart from that, everyone is but they were in Angola for
Okay.
all their life, I guess.
And so I want to ask you then. So all your family is in Angola. Why were you raised in Portugal? What made you move to Portugal?
Pretty much the same story as everyone else. We running away from war.
Okay.
My dad passed just after the independence, and mom felt that in the country was going through so much because of we started the civil war pretty much straight after. So it was very fragile and things were not stable enough. So she thought it was a good idea. She decided as a single mom, a widow with 4 kids. Decided that it would be better to start a life in Portugal just for hope of a better life for her children, really.
I'm curious. How old were you when you moved? I'm sorry.
Mom sent me and my brother to Portugal when I was around 7, 8 years old. Yeah.
And so, do you have any memories of Angola when you were younger?
Oh yeah, hell yes, I have.
What was it like?
Well, how long have you got?
I mean, I want to talk to you, so let's talk, please.
The memories I have mixed memories. I have memories.
Of course.
I have amazing memories. So as far as like I remember that because of the country being in a war and the political side of things and independence, revolutions, and all those sort of things, I remember that at home we used to whisper. We don't used to talk loudly.
Oh, wow.
I remember that. I remember being in the car with my mom and dad and my brother. At this point, I think my middle sister, she was unborn, and then just driving because we're running away from, because kind of like we heard that the troops were coming to wherever we were located, and so we just got in the car and started driving and trying to run away because the war was coming. So
right.
So we have lots of memories of doing that, and again the car stopping, whispering, and when those trips, obviously they were not fun road trips, family road.
That's not a vacation.
Not at all. It was pretty dramatic. We could tense. I mean, even though I was very little, me and my brother, we could tense. We could understand the tension and understanding that thing going on, and it was serious. Those are some of the memories we have. Just endless times in the car running away because the troops were coming, and then I know that my uncles and like my dad's brother was also in the car, also going through the same, and they used to like meet up in a certain area. Well, we'll meet you in, I don't know, so and so, and they will kind of get out the car and talk a little bit and have those little meetings. We didn't understand what was going on, but it was just things like that. Those were some of the memories I have. I also have some beautiful, amazing.
I would hope so, please.
The other memories I have are memories of going to memories of music, like music is always playing.
Okay.
Music is always present. I have memories of dad waking up and music was playing, and there's always food cooking. I remember the great big parties we used to have, and where there was literally tables of food.
Oh wow!
And we would go there as a family. Like my grandmother was there, my uncles, my cousins, my youngest children. So it was a family party event, and we go to this big place at the time called Quintalão, which was there noted by the parties that they used to do. So you would kind of like, I don't know how they do, but you would have a table, like each family have their own table where everyone sit and they have their food and everything. Then the music will be playing, and then the grown-ups are dancing, children are running around and playing and so on. And it would be a whole day because we used to go there during the day.
Wow.
It would be probably like lunchtime. And I tell you something that I usually tell in my classes when I do my cultural classes. usually in, I don't know, American Europe, or even here in Portugal, when you go to like a family gathering and party, usually at nighttime, you know, the older people would go home. That would be the night.
Right. That's how my family does it. Yeah.
Not there. I remember the sun was starting to go down, right? And the moms were starting to like putting the babies to sleep around 7, 8, I don't know, normal times of putting babies to sleep. So you would see all the mothers with the babies, you know, in their laps. The music was still playing. The older children were still being running around. Dads and uncles and cousins and granddad and everyone still around. And then the mothers would start in, and then they used to put straw mats made out of straw.
For the babies to lay down?
And then they would put the babies to sleep under the table.
Yeah.
So the party didn't stop.
It didn't stop.
And because hell no. So they put the babies to sleep, and then all the children, we, including me, would be sleeping on the floor, under the table.
Oh.
And the parents were still partying.
Okay. That's amazing.
And as you can see, music and dancing is part of from pretty much birth.
Right. That's what it sounds like. That's exactly what it sounds like. I'm curious. How close were you to, I guess, you know, like your grandparents and everything? Did everyone stay close to you, or were they kind of spread out?
In Angola, at least in Angola, and I always keep saying in Angola because that's my story, and I can.
Of course.
I can only like tell you as far as what I know, simply because, as you know, most African history has been written off, right?
Right.
Everything is word of mouth, is spoken, memories, literally exactly how I'm doing now. Yeah, I'll pass on the message vocally, verbally.
Right.
Now all this means we can record things and will be there forever for people to. But at the time, it wasn't. It was just you sit down with your grandparents and you listen to stories. We have this thing in Angola where even today, this is one thing that's very particular, especially in Angola. Older people mix with younger people. We don't have this big age gap situation, because there's always respect, and you always respect the elders as elderly, and they respect you as the children as children.
Okay.
We have this complicity that works between us, that there is not a huge gap, because we all understand each other's roles, but we kind of speak the same language. I give you an example. In Angola, we speak a lot of slang.
Okay.
But even the older people speak slang.
Oh wow! Okay.
Like even so I can speak slang with my mom, and it wouldn't be offensive.
Oh.
I would say, give an example. The word kota. Kota means oldie, but not necessarily oldie. It's like it's a respectful word, but in a slang that is not Portuguese. It's slang that you talk about when you want to say, oh, you know, she's an old woman, is an old man.
Okay.
It's Kota. Yeah. A lot of people call me Enriquita Kota, Kizomba Kota.
Okay. Okay.
And so when I see my mom and in the morning, it's like, "Come Kota," like I go, "Sup Kota," you know. I don't say, "Hello, mom, how are you?" You know, there is not this age gap, this big bridge. There's no big, and because we all dance, the music is this one thing that unifies all. I mean, you've seen Kuduro, for instance, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Like the Kuduro and Afro House and all that.
Yeah.
You know, the põe mão na cabeça, mão na cintura, mão na, you know, those steps that come with the certain songs.
Okay. I'm not familiar with it, but continue on.
But I give you that's an example. Like Kuduros usually has a routine that goes with it, especially like on certain parts of the song.
Okay.
Do. And one of these ones would be, I know, this one says, put your hands on your head, waist on your wrist, waist on the head, waist on your waist, something like this. If this song comes up, you would see older people, younger people, everyone would be doing it. You see, like, oh, this is just for young people. And
right.
The younger ones will also like Kizomba and Semba, which is supposed to be an elderly song, older people song. Do you see what I mean?
I get you, yeah.
So that because of that, we always sit together. We always have meals together. It's a big thing. Like eating in a table with your family is a big thing. And we still have this huge connection with the grandparents, even as far as your uncles and cousins, because they are like your second parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when you come from a country who has some sort of oppression or war, you rely on each other very much.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there is no different from your auntie tells you something,
Your mother.
your mother, or she can whip your ass the same as there's no different there. Like,
Okay.
I guess we just one big family, but it's the same. And I know that's not just my family; it's every family in Angola. It's like that. We all very very close. You all look
Hey.
after each other, and
Nah, that's very different because like just from how I grew up, my family was very spaced out, so it's pretty amazing to have someone so close, everyone's so close.
it's still like that. I just came from Angola 2 weeks ago, and we still do it. There's
Okay.
difference. And we sit down outside, and it's like midnight, and we're talking, and the 15-year-old doesn't feel bored sitting down with us.
Okay.
12-year-old still doesn't fit because we can have a laugh, we can joke, and we can, we speak the same language. So there's no this awkwardness.
Okay. No, I get you. That's
Always with respect, but Angolans are very light.
yeah, I
Man.
get you. Okay.
We love joking around and playing and have fun. So we don't really take life too serious, I guess.
Okay.
So I guess that kind of helps.
I'm curious. Do you know what it was like for your mother growing up in Angola? Your mother and your father?
I do. So they had different upbringings. And in my mom's case, my uh, my granddad separated from her mom's. So mom was separated from her mom from very early age, and her dad remarried, and she was raised by this other lady, who wasn't very nice to her. Let's put it that way.
Did you real quick? Did you know your I guess your true grandmother? Did you know her at all?
I didn't know, but they were passed by the time I was born.
Okay.
Both sides. I never met my grandparents from my mom's side. From my side. Yeah, and but because my mom's dad was Portuguese, usually their education and the way upbringing is very Portuguese-like.
Of course, yeah.
So it was very European, a very European upbringing. Let's put it that way. And because Angola was a colony from Portugal,
right?
Angola was considered Portugal, if it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I understand.
So everything, every shop that you would see, every cafe, every factory, it belonged to Portuguese people. Very rarely you would see any, tradition Angolan things. In fact, was not encouraged to have any Angolan manners. Pretty much everyone needed to assimilate more to the Portuguese side because it was the proper.
Right. I understand.
Is very, very educated that way. Very, very polite, very Portuguese, very well mannered, very well spoken. Because her dad was someone very important in Benguela, which was where we come from. My dad's side was slightly different. But his dad was also Portuguese, but he comes from a big family where brothers and sisters and mom are very, very close. Because my grandmother on my dad's side was Black, I know, for instance, to give you an example, that my granddad didn't marry my grandmother until my dad and brothers and sisters kind of said to his dad, "It's time you marry mom." She deserved, only because she was an African woman. And they, at the time, it was common to Portuguese men to have children with African, but they would not necessarily marry them. And it wasn't my case, but in many cases, it was also very common for Portuguese to have two wives, so they'll have one in Portugal and then one in...
Okay.
they would love their children and they will raise them as them. But it's just that things, the way it was different. The way they were treated if it was a Portuguese family.
I understand what you're saying. That's pretty crazy, honestly. That's wild.
It is crazy because I give you an example. No, it just gives you a dimension, and I explain a little bit how African things are, and some similarities of what we read and see from Americans and African situations. For instance, like and this is not just my story. I know this story from my side, from my family, on my mom's side, but also from my daughter's father, who I married. He experienced, his mother experienced the same thing, and other families that I know.
What is your just real quick, what's your husband? Is he Portuguese or Angolan?
As well, but mixed, just the same as me. So
okay.
His mom, and what I'm trying to say is that how the story repeats itself, right? So like my mom was raised by this lady I told you, right? That wasn't her mom, but it was his dad's wife. Let's put it that way. Her mom was black, therefore she wasn't allowed in the house.
Your mother, or who wasn't allowed in the house?
So the ladies that raised my mom's stepmom was black. She wasn't allowed in the house.
In whose house?
Her own daughter's house.
Really?
Because she was married with a Portuguese gentleman. So those are kind of messed up things that we come from. That we it's still very recent. It's still very real. It still happened to it was just my grandmother. It wasn't like we hear stories of, oh, this is how it used to be 100 years ago. No, this is just my mom's story. My mom would not, what she used to call avó, her grandmother. It wasn't her real grandmother, but it was the elderly lady. Yeah, that it was a lady, and there was a lady who really not allowed in the house, and she treated her own daughter differently because the daughter was lighter than the other children she had. And so those kind of the dynamics that they were happening, in Angola, as far as.
No, I understand. So I'm curious. Was even today is, I don't know the proper word, but colorism, is that a big thing? Light skin and dark skin, is that a big thing even today?
It still is indeed, yeah. Unfortunately, still very present. And yeah, the lighter you are, the more privilege you have. At one point, I think Rikita mentioned that in an interview as well. I mean, what we call the mulatto, which is the mix.
Exactly.
Or possibly the most hated ones, because
she did say that.
Yeah, we were discriminated by both, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So we perceived as superior as the black people, and then inferior from. You see, so.
It is wild. That's wild.
And it's still going on. It's still happening. It still works pretty much that way.
I'm curious. As a child, do you remember experiencing anything, I guess, abnormal, like because of your complexion? Do you remember that?
I remember that every day after dinner, we used to go to my auntie's house. Like, this is why I said, like, we're so close, right? Family. So we will have dinner at my house, and then my dad and his wife, which was my mom, and us would, and then my other aunties, and all of us would join in this auntie's house, right? And so all the cousins, all the aunties, and all that, after dinner will go and have coffee. The men will be playing cards in the port, so I don't know how to call the patio. Okay. And then the wives will be like doing their crochets and things, and eating and cooking, whatever, in the kitchen. Children will be playing around. Tania, me, of course, could not be like everyone else. What did I do? I wanted to play with the children that were like the children of the people who used to work for my auntie, which were so like the maids and their children. Okay. And because they didn't have clothes on, what I did, I take my clothes off to look like them. And used to go and play with them. My mom was obliged, she wasn't aware of this, of course, all that, and until it was like time to go home, where's Tani, and there comes me with no clothes on, I used to make my hair messy just because I didn't want to look at
Stand
it,
out. Yeah, yeah.
because that's what I wanted to play with them. I didn't want to play, so I did things like that, and of course I get told off and like, no, you can't do that. You don't belong there. Like,
Wow.
yeah, it was messed up. It was messed up. It was
So,
a lot of mixed messages.
I don't want to like sound mean, but I'm curious. Do you think you grew up more privileged than others?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's absolutely yeah. Which is a huge shock when then we came to Portugal, because then we are supposed to. I mean, it um, in there is more like whoever you have more means, and then if so the society is very divided by uh,
Like your status, right?
very poor and very poor, and very rich is very rich kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
So there's a huge
It's like a
no,
gap, poverty gap.
yeah. So I mean, I came from a wealthy family, very privileged family. So
Hey.
I didn't know any different, and of course I was just a child. And but we also had children that were friends that were darker, but just because they come from a privileged family as well. Do you see what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So I'm not going to necessarily say it's as far as color, because like
Right,
I
right,
said,
right.
I was black, not necessarily in my family, but those dynamics were going on indeed. And it just tend to be that the people were doing the, uh, not so good jobs, and what happened to be
Doctor.
native black people.
Okay. Now I understand. I definitely understand that. So you told me about, your time in Angola. And then at 7 you moved to Portugal. Is that correct?
My dad passed, and my mom sent us to Portugal. Yeah.
Right, right. I'm curious. What was it like moving to Portugal? How did you feel about that?
Um, it wasn't great at the time. Uh, uh, I guess like Rikita has also mentioned, I guess Portugal wasn't ready for accommodating most of people who were coming in masses from Angola at the time.
Okay.
So so when we got independence, the Portuguese opened the started to putting the Red Cross planes in Angola to whoever wanted to come to Lisbon.
Ah.
Whoever wanted to come to Lisbon could just get in the plane for free and come, because we got independence. We're pretty much an independent country now. So
Uh-huh.
the war was finished, and the Portuguese felt the need to have to obviously leave Angola and come back to Portugal. And that process had to happen pretty quick. Everyone that was born under the Portuguese flag, everyone that was born under the Portuguese flag before the independence could have nationality, Portuguese nationality.
Okay. That includes you then, right?
Regardless, we were born in Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that was under the Portuguese flag, you were Portuguese. Of
Okay.
that time, the ones who managed to leave Portugal were the ones who had means for it, because the people, the poor people cannot
Exactly.
leave. So the first lot of immigration was the retornados, like the ones, the Portuguese who returned to Portugal. In my case, I didn't come pretty much there. I came in '81, which is the kind of the second lot.
Okay.
By then, we already started the Civil War, and we were already a couple of years on from the Civil War, which was another problem that we faced. You see,
Yeah.
so because we started the war, and our parents fight so much to have independence. Our parents, I don't think they wanted to leave the country just like that.
Yeah, that's their home.
Oh, we have our country back. This is our chance, and now
Yeah.
so. Uh, a lot of them decided to stay and just send their children to
Okay.
live in Lisbon. And I was one of those cases. Me and my brother went to live in Lisbon, in Portugal, and my
Who'd you
mom stayed.
who'd you stay with in
I,
Lisbon?
I had an auntie, my mom's sister, so we went to live with her. But that's whoever had family there that you could send your children to, you would send.
Okay.
But most were just literally that most of my friends and the people that I know that came from that time, from that lot, from the 80s plus, right? Came, they sent their children, and the children pretty much living by themselves in Lisbon.
Is that what it was like for you?
It was not in my case, like I said, but most people I know that came to Portugal at that time, the masses of emigration that happened, and it was thousands of children because of the war and the curfew and all those situations. People would tend to send their children under the age of 18, and they were living by themselves here in Portugal. So they rent a place, a flat, a house, or something, and then the older children will look after the younger children.
Okay.
And that's how that happened. So
I understand that. That's pretty wild. I'm curious. Do you know why did your I know why you're gonna stay, but what was your mother doing when she sent you all? Was she just working, or was she like, what was she doing?
She was mom always worked, and she was an accountant. So
okay.
Yeah, so pretty much. I mean, the idea as far as my personal story was because Dad passed, Mom stayed behind so she could pass everything her name, so she could sell and then come and join us.
Oh, okay.
The process took about 4 to 5 years, and because obviously situation being so difficult there, all the systems were not working no longer because the Portuguese have left and the country was all over the place. So it wasn't easy to just go to a place and have, because it wasn't that easy at the time.
I understand. You're moving to a wholly different country and different places. That's intense.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, so you moved to Lisbon with your aunt or your uncle. What was that like for you? What was it like growing up in Portugal?
It wasn't great. I mean, if you put in perspective, in my personal case and my brother, we just lost my dad, literally.
Okay.
So, and then on the same year, we were sent to Portugal. We were only 8 years of age, 7, 8, me and my brother. So, fact, we were separated from my mom and my siblings and my dad and my country and my home.
It's a lot.
In one go, and we didn't know how to deal with those emotions. It wasn't at that time, of course, there's no Facebook, no technology for
you
to be able to keep in touch. So we were obviously very, very, very fragile, very frightened.
Yeah.
And extremely insecure and all sorts of, and it would just scar you for life. Unfortunately, there is not enough, I don't think, love in the world that will be able to give to a child who's been through so much in one go to heal. And so it wasn't easy. And what I usually say in my classes, my story is not unique. I know people who are teaching Kizomba, they are my colleagues, Angolans, who I was fortunate enough to have an auntie and managed to get in touch with my mother. I know Kizomba teachers that also gone through the same, and their parents have sent them, and they never saw their parents again.
Yeah.
They never saw their mothers again. They never saw their brothers and sisters again, because once you were put on a plane and sent, it was touch and base. You don't know what's going on. So to that, so it was complicated.
Yeah, I don't want to like bring up like bad feelings or emotions, but
And then that's good. That's
cool. Do you know how you lost your father? Do you know what happened to him?
I do, and it was a consequence of war. That's why he passed. It was a consequence of war. It was due to that stress my mom tells us he wanted so badly to just stay in Angola and fight, because he was, at that time, everyone was very politically involved, especially the men.
Of course.
My dad was only 36 when he gone.
Young.
My mom was pregnant of the youngest one. So my younger sister never even met Dad. and he was young. He was fierce, and he just wanted to do something meaningful.
Yeah.
Something. He was part of history. We just got independence after colonization for 500 years, or whatever. So,
Yeah.
and mom said that the man that she met, who was lively, who used to love partying and dancing, and he was her life and soul. She saw him going through a man who didn't talk, which is retrieved because he was so confused, so
He's under a lot of stress at that time.
a lot of stress because of
Yeah.
the civil war, and then not knowing what was the right thing to do, whether to just abandon everything, go to Portugal
Right.
because it was better for your children, because schools, hospitals, everything was abandoned, or stay and believe that things were going to change and be part of that change that he fought so hard for.
Yeah, that's very difficult.
All that may lead him to.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to look out for his family as well. He's looking out for y'all, trying to do the best thing. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, there's no book on this.
yeah,
So that's extremely tough.
that's deep. Yeah, no.
Yeah. I was I don't know if you know this person. He grew up in Angola as well. His name was Victor Tavares Mendez.
Peter Menz, yeah, no, Peter.
Okay, yeah. I interviewed him and he told me the same story. He was he was a refugee from Angola to Portugal. So I definitely.
This is really important. Your work, the work that you're doing, I don't know if you know, but this is a huge thing that you are doing. This is the first time you're gonna hear exactly why we are so protective of our culture and why Kizomba means so much to us.
Okay.
It is through these conversations that never were possible. We didn't even know they was important. Now that we see the dynamics of how things are going, and the lack of respect for Kizomba, the need of reinventing the dance, and all that, to us is so offensive, and you guys never understood why. All you see is just us going on Facebook and
Right.
about this is wrong, this is not, why you're doing this, pointing fingers and discriminating. But you will, in a minute, you will understand why Kizomba comes into play. But this is our background, so a lot of all of us. I mean, we're fairly young, and we all have a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
So our life wasn't just pretty straightforward. Hey, grow up and living in the same house, mom and dad, married and happily have nice. No, it wasn't. I mean, like I said, we also have a very lively, easy approach. We like laughing and making jokes and everything. But there was all this going on in the back.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
That's all right. So I wanna keep going. So you're growing up in Portugal with your family. So what happens next? I'm curious. What happens after that?
Well, then after eventually mom comes, and then we move in together, and it was a beautiful reunion because I have my sisters, my mom back, and we're back in home. I was 12, 13 at the time.
Okay.
And we always kept in touch with what was happening in Angola, but being a teenager, a young teenager, that's when you started to meeting other people. The area that we were living, it was pretty much a neighborhood that was built, even though it's not necessarily how we would call the projects or homes that we have in the UK. But it was with so many refugees that were coming, a lot of people coming from even the retornados, right, from the Portuguese who came in Lisbon. There was a need of creating neighborhoods with buildings. We have a lot of with to accommodate to give accommodation to all these people that was coming from the Congo, because it wasn't just Angola, it was Mozambique, Guinea, São Tomé, and all that.
Right.
Yeah. So I lived in outskirts of Lisbon. And I can say that maybe 90% of the people who live in this neighborhood were Palops, which means Portuguese African spoken countries. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
So African or African descendants, and up to today's date, 90% at least are from that. So we go to school with other Angolans. We most of the friends that you have, most of them are also Afro descendants and Africans as well. So we kind of all have the same upbringing.
Right.
And that's when we started to meet all these friends that I told you that were living pretty much by themselves.
Okay.
I mean, at the time I happened to my mom that did come, and I was living with my mom, but I have a lot of friends who were just living by themselves in the same apartments, like neighbors and all that. And it was literally 16, 18-year-olds looking after the 6, 8, 9.
Okay.
Yeah. Parents would occasionally come to see if everything is okay. They always have a neighbor or someone that you go there just to make sure things are okay. But they were just children living by themselves. They were also broken and just as fragile as.
Of course. They're children. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and you have to grow up like that, right? Because you're now in a different country and you have to look after your younger siblings.
Right.
Yourself. I know a 17, 18-year-old, it's a pretty demanding thing to do. Because, you're not doing this on your own country, doing it in a different country.
Yeah.
In a culture that it was completely different culture, different, and I think it was also difficult for the Portuguese to accept us.
Of course.
How to handle us. We're, very different. So what happened with that is where growing up, you pretty much see the Portuguese hanging out with Portuguese and children, and then the Africans hanging out with the Africans.
Okay.
It wasn't much mixing going on. It was very rare. I had a friend actually lived in the same house, but downstairs, and there were 2 white girls, and I remember, that they had Black boyfriends, and mom were not allowed to have the boy to know that they had, a colored boyfriend.
Okay.
She used to say, "Oh, Tania, you can come in, but if he's any darker than you, I would not have it in my house."
Oh wow.
Things like that was still happening, just people didn't know how. I guess it was just complicated. So that kind of happened. We did have friends. We hung out in school, but it was pretty much Palops from one side. And I would go as far as saying Angola on one side, Mozambique is the other side, Guinea from the other side. We even didn't really mix as much as Palops either. That happened later. But Angolans were always the outnumber, pretty much.
Okay.
It was the biggest country, I guess. So.
Hey, so real quick, saying that Angolans take all their culture with them. It's fine.
So I was saying, yes, most Africans, wherever we go, we take our culture with us, right? And so I think the question is, I was saying that it was very common for my mom to wake up first thing in the morning, wake me up and press play. Music will be playing, and from the moment we wake up, even before we go to school, we already listen to Zouk music and Semba, Bonga, and so on. And as far as I'm concerned, most houses were like that, Angolan at least. I mean, I don't know many other Palop countries, but I think they're the same, but I'm not pretty sure, right? And it was very common to just getting ready and preparing to go to school, and then your mom grabs you and does a few pasadas, and your brother, and life goes on like that, and then. As I told you, that most of the people who came to Portugal
were teenagers.
So teenagers in the free house, pretty much every day there was a party somewhere going on. So on the weekend, you would just ask where is the party, and usually would be is people like the women would take some food and the men would take the drinks and go there and so. You just had to take a dessert or a cake or a dish, it didn't matter what. And it tended to be because we are so homesick, because we miss home so much that we would cook home food. And it was very rare because at the time to get hold of, you know, stuff from Angola. It was hard, like to get the flour that we made.
I get you. Yeah.
Or to the dry fish, or even, you know, so if you had a parent who just came to visit and they brought some, like, and you managed to do something, it would be very precious, right? So the idea to when you go to these parties is to bring wherever you had that your families brought.
Yeah.
So you would have a table full of home food, and we listen to music and dance. So yeah, that's how we started to kind of that's kind of the way we started to just kind of because we miss home so much, and during the week life wasn't easy, but on weekends we kind of get together as a great big family, and we just go into someone's house and party.
Yeah. So it sounds like you know, music is a huge part of the Angolan culture.
Absolutely.
So, you know, all the children grow up listening to music. You grow up dancing and everything. How did the music change during, you know, the Civil War and all that?
So we had in Angola before the independence, again, very Portuguese-like, right? And so the people who were privileged would dance the valses and the ballroom dancing.
Okay, from the Portuguese, the European influence.
Semba would be played as a band, never a recording song, never
so a live band.
It would never be played on the radios. It wouldn't, like, it would be just for the natives, let's call it like that, right? And so it would be a concert of a band that actually would play live, and
that's awesome.
On the floor, right?
That's awesome. Yeah,
that is awesome. But it was never made mainstream. It was never meant to be for the masses or for everyone to enjoy it. It was always been something that only the Angolans, African Angolans who live in the suburbs would enjoy. So that's how kind of we appreciate the music. Bonga was actually a refugee.
My man.
He was actually a refugee.
Oh, it's a refugee to Portugal?
Belgium, yeah, to
Belgium. Oh, okay.
He started his music when he started, and he's very political. His music is extreme.
Right.
Because he was against the system and part of that whole movement that happened. So a lot of the young, just like myself, a lot of the younger kids who also went to Portugal, just like, you know, the same as me, starting to create music in Portugal. Mainly Paulo Flor. Eduardo, do you know Paulo Flor?
I do know Paulo Flor. I have one song here that I really, really like. So I know who he is, definitely. Yes.
Paulo Flores, Eduardo Paim, and all that. This is all kids who were all like also be living in Portugal and starting to write music with the influence of Semba, which was our home music.
Exactly.
Like what we grew up with, obviously, but with the influences from Zouk. Only because Zouk was this new thing that came up, and like we could hear the African rhythm in it, you know, but it was fresh, it was different, it was new. It wasn't so many traditional instruments like Semba. So it was the new generation of Angolan musicians starting to take those influences from Zouk rhythms and incorporating their music. However, the lyrics were very powerful.
Okay.
Were telling about how much we miss home, because everything that they were going through.
Exactly.
It's all written in the lyrics of those songs. So a lot of the times you can hear a song that sounds really lively and bubbly and happy, but the lyrics are very powerful.
I want to talk to you about that. Oh, let me ask you this. I don't want to get you off track, but so listen. I don't speak.
Just to answer the question, because you said Angolan music, it's a huge part of it.
Okay, my fault. Yeah.
What I wanted to understand is that once we started to listen to our own music and starting to create new music, the Angolans around the late, 80s, mid 80s and 90s, we also had this huge connection with the lyrics because it was telling our story.
Right.
And we pretty much everyone related to whatever it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
In by those singers. So it took a whole meaning. I mean, if from by now we were just listening to world music, pop, the Madonnas and the Michael Jacksons and everything else, and Semba, traditional Semba, which was a lot of it sung in dialect, and Zouk, which was sung in French. Now we have this new music who's sung in our language. In slang, in Portuguese, and it's telling my story.
Exactly, it's telling your story, everyone's story.
About the mother I left at home, that I miss, that I don't know if I'm going to see again. My sister that my brothers and sisters, that my dad that we lost in war. It was telling you kind of powerful things.
Yeah.
So it took a whole dynamic, a whole dimension, if you wish. It took to a whole new dimension of relating, be able to relate with the music. So now we don't just have this music that we love so much with this rhythm that we absolutely adore. It's part of our DNA because
it's part of your history as well, right? It's telling your story.
Absolutely, it became even more powerful.
Yeah, that's so true. I would say that's probably different than a lot of other genres of music. It's just telling a history lesson, right?
I suppose it's a little bit like hip hop in America.
To an extent, but to an extent, you're right. Older, I have to say older hip hop. When it first came out.
Yes, that's right. The whole hip hop, the way hip hop, it was supposed to be a
storytelling.
It's telling, and that's how kind of started to talk. I mean, we have this word called saudade in Portuguese. There's no translation in English. There's no words I can put you to explain. It means nostalgic. I guess.
Is it saudado? Or it's like, how do you?
Saudade.
I think, does Bonga have a song with that?
Yeah, we all have many songs.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I've heard that word before. Okay.
Yeah, that song means to miss home like crazy, to miss, and it's this. It's not just missing home as it is one far memory that we have. It's something that's part of us that we take because when we were ripped off, we were not by choice.
Right.
Choice. We were ripped off by our country, and having to start and not being socially accepted in Portugal. It's complicated, and to have this new music that is also has the lyrics with such a. I mean, sometimes the lyrics were just, but very common. It's talking about girls' curves and beautiful women, this and that. I mean, of course, there is also that going on, but a lot of it is always. I mean, even the Cape Verdeans were also singing about saudade. I mean, you probably heard Saudade by Cesária Évora. I mean, that's probably the most world-known song that she sings about it, but most of the songs are also coming from the Cape Verdean singers with the influence of Zouk that they had, also talking about lyrics of, having to immigration.
Right.
All that stuff that was going on.
Definitely. I think what you're explaining though is why Angolans, you hold Kizomba, the dance, the music, the culture in such high regards, right? It's such a part of you, like you say, your DNA, everything. Right. I want to ask you this though. I want to ask you a lot of things, honestly, but but so I don't speak Angolan. I don't know. Is it Angolan, right? Portuguese. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't speak Portuguese. So when I hear, a song from Bonga or Kassav, and it's a depressing song, but I don't understand it. What should I do? What should we do as dancers? To show respect. What can I do? Do I need to scan the audience?
It's tricky. That is the $1 million question, because I usually say, I mean, there are songs that come up that has that makes me travel to a certain place, particular time, or it reminds me of something like my dad, me dancing with my dad in these big parties that I used to have before he's gone, that I find it very hard to dance with anyone else, or even someone else that didn't go through the same as me. So there is the, like Rikita said, and very well, Angolans only dance the songs they like. We don't tend to dance with just every song. To us, going out to socialize, to talk, to have a drink, to have a laugh, to dress up, to feel pretty, to everything else, to see your friends, to hang out and dance. It's part of what to do. It's not what we do.
Okay.
All this binge dancing attitude that Europeans and Americans have, going to festivals, just dance, 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 dance. It's not necessarily the way we do it all the time. To us, it's about the home party, people are in the kitchen talking, others not. Music is always present.
Always.
Music, the only mandatory thing that has to be is music play. But whether you're in the backyard sitting down having a beer, or playing with your children, or nursing your children, or in the kitchen cooking, or or dancing, the only thing that makes everyone stop is when the music stops. Everyone's like, what happened?
What's going on?
Or why is music not playing? What's going on? That's the only thing. Music always has to be present. But the dancing, it depends. And then that one song comes up that you really, really like, usually Zouk or Kizomba or Semba. Those songs that have a special meaning, or who takes you back to those times, that or has a special lyric that makes you relate to something. Those songs we don't want to dance with just anyone. We want to dance either by yourself, which I know it's very odd for you to listen to this, but it's very common for us to dance by ourselves. And I don't know why people are not teaching that. I am, but that's actually what we do in Angola, in our social parties. You either dance by yourself or you dance with someone you want to dance with. In my case, I'll probably get my brother, or a cousin. And if I don't have neither, I will look for someone who come from the same culture, like Tocosta or even Riku, someone that I know these listen to the same and he can relate, because we need this connection. When we talk about connection, this is what I mean. Connection, when we talk about connection, is not connection to the bodies, it's connection with the music. Connection. So we are both connected to the music, therefore we're going to connect.
Right. You're bringing a very similar energy, right?
Yeah, because exactly, pretty much that. The energy that the guy would. So if there's a song that is nostalgic, that you can hear there's suffering, it just means that you have to dance in a more close-up frame type attitude. Not so many tricks, not so much.
Exactly. It's not a happy thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, just be respectful to the song. That's what we need.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can still dance the whole virgulas, estrelas, and circles, but just not too many playful things. That's the only thing we would say. The music is mandatory, and the music tells you what kind of steps you can do.
Music dictates everything.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
So hold on. Oh.
Yeah,
I was back to my original question though. So what can I do? Do I need to learn Portuguese? Is that just my only solution? Learn Portuguese?
No, unfortunately the answer is not that, because even the songs that are sung in Portuguese, a lot of it is in slang or with a double meaning, which you wouldn't understand anyway. Okay. So it's not pretty. Apart from the ghetto zouks, and who are not sung in Creole, if they're sung in Portuguese, and the tarraxinhas and the new music from the new generations, 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds and 18-year-olds, that song is, it's about lovey-dovey, normal stuff. Then yes, you can, a lot of it's also sung in English. They're designed for the masses and to be enjoyable by everyone.
Right.
Especially for this new European Kizomba world.
I think a C4 Pedro comes to mind. I don't know if he...
C4 Pedro is possibly younger than me, but his background is actually R&B.
Okay.
What C4 Pedro did is he created his own R&B style because he wanted to bring the African in him. He also lived in Belgium. He was one of those, but his background, I was Lisbon, he went to Belgium.
Oh.
he also went to Belgium, so he always enjoyed singing, but his background is R&B, but he always wanted to put his, what we call the vein, African vein in his music. He wanted to have assertiveness, like I am singing R&B, but I'm an African Angolan.
Yeah, I like C4. King Chocolate, I like him too.
Sing in English or in French, I'm not sure, because I don't know much of his work background, but I know because he said that interview, and that's his take. Even his Kizomba is very modern, if you wish. You can see that it's very studio orientated. There's not, I mean, now it's different because he's maturing, but his early work, when he started to do the first Kizomba beat, he didn't really never wanted to be a Kizomba. He's always, his heart was on R&B. That's what he loved, and that's what he wanted to be known as. I mean, but it was Kizomba that made him popular. I mean, especially by Portuguese in Angola as well, and it only goes to show that it didn't change. We still very much enjoy Kizomba. So his new work is very different. He's modern and everything else, but you can still hear the African in him.
Definitely, yeah.
Very cool. I really like.
Let me as well. All right, so I want to keep going ahead. All right, so your mother comes to live with you. You're growing up in Portugal. Do you think that you fell in love with dancing more than others? Like, what do you think led you down this path to where you are right now?
Well, the fact that my mom enjoyed music and enjoyed dancing is a big thing. Influenced a lot in my loving for music and dancing. I went clubbing with my mom, and when we
what?
I can tell you something. Yeah, like let me put you into things, because when we say this, clubbing with your mom, and a lot of UK people would usually say, yes, we go to club. The club that we go to, my mom, was designed for mature people. We're gonna go crazy with this, but we had clubs for 12-year-olds to 16-year-olds.
Specific ages.
Oh yeah. Then we had clubs from 16 to about 24, 25, 30. And then you had clubs from 30 plus. Right? This is in Lisbon, right?
Okay.
The 12 to 16, it wouldn't sell alcohol. It was you had a lot of pop music and world music, and Kizomba. I was also playing a lot of Kizomba. But it was full of teenagers.
Exactly.
It was just designed for teenagers. So that's how early, even though we moved to Portugal, we're now in a European country, we still created a system where we can send our teenagers to observe our culture. Yeah. So there you had clubs, and then you had the clubs from 16. I mean, those ones had a lot of I don't know, the disc ball, a lot of pop music would play and everything, because it was oriented for teenagers, right?
Right.
At that one, it was more like 16 to 17, 18. At this point, it was more like designed for couples, because you would go. I mean, it was the club. I mean, remember, you had no Facebook, no internet, and none of that.
Yeah.
And we came from a culture where dancing is the way you socialize. We didn't have the culture of going to cinema or going to dinner or we didn't have that, because the way the country was, right? So the club or the party was the places that you would go, and most likely you would meet your husband to be in the club.
Okay.
Therefore, you had rules. The ethics of Kizomba come to play.
Please tell. Do tell.
Right. So you would be like, a girl doesn't ask a guy to dance, because that shows that she's easy, or the 3-song rule. I don't know if you ever heard about that. I mean, this is very.
You don't dance more than 3 songs, or what?
Well, it wouldn't be appropriate for a respectful girl to dance more than 3 songs with the same guy.
Okay.
If you go back to him, it's fine, but you just like dance one song, dance 2 songs, and the third one, I mean, you would just have to like, thank you, and then sit down. It was just the way things were. I mean, people argue that there wasn't really necessarily those things going on, but it was like other people had different experience. I know that in my case it was like this because I had an older brother. So when we go to a club, and because we're such a family orientated, you're representing your family.
Right, right.
I'm usually go. My mom wouldn't even let entertain me going by myself, so I always had to go with my brother, only with my brother, and with my brother also be present his friends, and if my brother wasn't present and his friends, they will take over. They will look after me. That means we have a lot of culture of table and open a bottle. So you would go in as a group, and you will have a table for that group, and you sit down. I mean, we sit down and we dancing, sit down and dancing. We tend to dance between the group because that's how we came together. So if a guy wanted to dance with me, he would have to come through the group. Even today, it's still like that. So he would have to come, find a way to introduce himself to my brother, have a little chat, and then ask me for a dance, or ask my brother if he can dance with me. It still happens like that today, to today's day. Because we don't usually just go and dance with strangers. I mean, it's like you don't even made an effort to know my name, to get to know me, to know who I'm from. If I'm with my boyfriend, if I'm married or not, you just come and ask me for a dance. That doesn't work like that. Does that make sense?
I mean, it makes sense. It's a lot different than I grew up in America. It's different.
Even when we see in festivals, we don't see none of this going on, you know.
And so let me real quick. Is that the European influence?
The Europeans have changed because, I mean, in Kizomba, we probably did was just adopt the salsa, what was happening in salsa, right? That's what was happening in festivals in salsa. People were going and paying $5 to learn steps, or pay, $100 and go to a festival where they have workshops during the day and you practice at night. That's kind of the idea of a festival, right? So the fact that you are called a practice, then therefore it's acceptable to dance with everyone. In Kizomba, our original Kizomba comes with ethics and rules that don't apply in festivals, if it makes sense.
Yeah, so definitely. Yeah.
Say to the ladies, oh, sit down and wait for a guy to come and ask you to dance, because you're in a festival, it's different. You're there to socialize, to practice, and so on. However, dancing also makes the world smaller, right?
Why do you say that?
Well, now we have people coming from America to dance in Lisbon. We have, and they don't want to dance on festivals no more. They want to come to the Angolan clubs. There's people going to Angola. And it's important that people know that we have different rules when it comes to Angolan clubs, because here of our culture, and in our culture, it's not appropriate for a girl to dance with just any guy. It's not being rude, it's cultural.
Yeah, I understand that.
Even today's date, if I'm out and I'm with my brother, most likely a guy would come and ask him to dance with me. It's just the way the dynamics of the dance are.
I'm glad you said that. I never would have known that.
No, and a lot of, I was just in Oslo teaching in Norway a couple of weeks ago, and I had this conversation, and I sat down with someone who said he had a terrible experience because he went to an Angolan club and he was asking the girls, and every girl was saying no, 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 no. He came with obviously very upset, and
he took it personal. Yeah,
was respectful. I didn't do anything wrong. I just politely invited, and I don't understand why they said no. And I said, because your teacher failed you to tell you that Kizomba culturally has rules, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. I mean, we tend to go as groups, and we tend to dance with the group that you go with. And then if you meet friends down there, you can dance with the friends because you know them. I mean, it's completely okay. But if it's a stranger who comes for to ask for a dance, I mean, things obviously are changing, and nowadays people don't pay attention too much to these kind of things. But it's still, I was in a party recently, not recently, but the last time I went to a party, and I saw a group of Angolan guys were hanging out, and I could hear them because I speak Portuguese. Obviously, they were talking, and they were talking about me. And I was like, "Who's that? Who's that?" And he was like, "I think she's the teacher." He's like, "Oh, is she a sister? Like, as in, is she Angolan?" Like, Emana, Mana means sister.
Yeah.
Come on, Mana. I was like, and he's like, "I don't know," because I didn't know if I was Angolan or if I spoke Portuguese or not. And he's like, what he wanted to know is if I was foreign, then he could just come and ask me because I didn't know any different.
Oh,
Make
you're
sure
Angolan though.
my color, I was Angolan because he knew that if he was Angolan, he would have to come and do things differently. Eventually, one said, yeah, she's from Angola. And he said, okay, come do your thing then. This is all in slang. So then the guy came to me and he went, hi. And I'm like, hi. My friend wants to know you. I was like, okay.
Okay.
And then this is him inviting.
Okay.
Yeah, what's your name? And I'm like, Tania. Oh, Tania, this is Pedro, Tania. And then we kiss. Do you want to dance? He had to do this. And he knows he has to do this. This is kind of the polite way of inviting someone from the culture to dance. You try to get someone who has a common friend or someone to introduce it to you first. You have a little chat, even if it's just, hi, how are you? I never see you before. I mean, it's just meaningless, but at least you made an effort to know my name.
Okay.
And after dance. Do you see the way?
Oh, definitely.
Works, and it still happens today. I mean, most guys do it that way,
That's I think I might need to start. Can I do that in America? I guess I could do it. It's just different.
Yes, of course, yes.
So I'm gonna be honest with you, it's different because I can do a more direct approach, right? To say, hey, I want to dance with you, and she might say yes, she might say no.
Yeah, but if you go to an Angolan club, you just need to be prepared that if you do that,
okay, all right, yeah, okay, be prepared for it.
You kind of forcing yourself to I mean, in the festival, that would be perfectly cool to do that because everyone dances with them. That's
right.
And which is amazing and beautiful, and big ups for it. But in our culture, if you go to Angola, to a club or a house party, things are slightly, or at wedding, if you were to go to an Angola, then things work slightly different, and then it's important for people to understand the dynamics of things.
That's a huge part. That's a part of the culture and everything.
It's part of the culture. So when I see people talking about culture, why I'm like, what exactly these people teach in these culture classes? Because no one is teaching the ethics, for instance, and things, the lyrics part of the dancing, the connection that the Angolans have, the immigration background.
Right.
No. This is important information that it tells our path and how did Kizomba came to it, and how the importance of Kizomba had to keep us connected to home. And it was kind of the only glue we had to keep us together. I mean, in that room when we were in the house parties, we're the same as that big party that I had with my mom. This is the only happy memory I had. So when I'm dancing in this house party with people of my own who also going through the same, who also left the mom behind, who also left the siblings, who also lost the dad, was listening to the same, and we listen to the text, we sing, and we sit down and we listen, smelling the food from home and music from home from someone who speaks the same language and slang and has the same sense of humor, because we have a very kind of sarcastic sense of humor. It's home, right? And Kizomba was what made that possible. And that's why we're so protective of our culture, because it was the only thing we had to connect us.
Okay, right.
In Portugal, or Belgium for Sequato Pedro, or Holland for the Cape Verdeans, or in province for the Cape Verdeans and new states, and wherever we go, I'm just using Lisbon because it was,
of course, yeah.
Place where we had most, but it's what we do, and Kizomba was that one thing that we had that kept us connected to home.
Let me ask you this real quick, and you might have already said this. But just so people can understand, I myself, why is it important to teach the culture of a dance when teaching it?
Just to instigate that respect, really, just to avoid. I mean, especially the sexualization that happened.
Okay.
But I mean, when we see all these groups of girls moving the booties,
Is that
people.
is that not the Jenga? Is that different than Jenga?
Well, Jinga is your
Yeah. Oh,
natural
sorry.
movement. It's your
Ooh, and they're exaggerating it, huh?
natural flow of dance. And it's okay to be gracious and to be feminine, but not sexual. I dance with my brother,
Okay.
and every
Right.
I teach, I say, if I'm teaching and I cannot bring, if you are dancing in a way that you be embarrassed to dance in front of your mother, it's not kizomba.
Okay. So that's the difference right there, then, huh?
Yeah. So when we see all this, I mean, we do dance with the hips. We are very feminine as African women, and we do have a lot of body movement, especially with the hips and the booty. But when we just made it about the booty, then it becomes a different thing, especially when it comes to kizomba, because it was never meant to be a dance uh, to to attract the opposite sex. It was
Okay.
a dance that you're supposed to be one, that we are mirroring each other, who has a lot of footwork, it's fun, who is deep, but never sexual. That's Tarashinga. That's a
I
different,
said, yeah, Tyra C. All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
different role. But if you want to call it Kizom of Tarashinga Jinga, then fine, you go ahead. What we have a problem is the word Kizomba, because Kizomba means party, it means home, means family, means community, means suffering, means lyrics, means all that to us. And when we see girls just, moving their bodies to and call it Kizomba, then it becomes degrading. It's degrading my culture.
Okay.
The offensive part to of it.
I
So
definitely understand that.
that's why it's so important to talk about culture, to understand people understand maybe, and I know it's not your story, so you wouldn't be able to relate so much why I went through, but at least it puts you in a perspective. Hang on, let me just see here, things work different. This is a song from sung by bonga. I'm not going to do this and that, you know um,
Uh-huh. I
that's
definitely understand that.
yeah, that's kind of the idea of the cultural part of the dance. It's just so people can understand and respect a little bit more what we went through for to be able to teach all over the world.
Yeah, I feel like that can be applied to any dance style, right? Salsa, kizomba, bachata, any of it.
Absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely, absolutely. I agree, and I know that the dynamics of um, uh, um, going to dance with a lady in a club in with a Cuban or a Republican and Latinos are the same. Usually you have to invite. You don't just go and ask a Latino in a Latino club to a girl to dance randomly.
Okay.
Also have to. There's also ethics and rules in those clubs as well, and they're very
Okay.
similar to ours. Simply because that's the way we socialize. So I remember growing up, my mom used to be, when you go to the club, you better sit down. When you go to the club, you're not going to dance with every guy. You need to be respectful because you're representing your family. You are a respectful girl. You sit down and you only dance when your brother says you can, okay? So she didn't say don't go to the club. You understand? It wasn't no, you're not allowed to go in a club. It's
Uh-huh.
how you behave in a club.
Right.
So that's what you had to always show that you are marriage material kind of.
Okay. Okay. I understand. Yes, that's I definitely understand that. I wanna. I know we keep jumping around, but
Fine, you go back.
yeah. So yeah, let's go back though, because like I said, you growing up and everything. Um, how old were you when you moved to London? Say
Pardon?
23. How old were you when you moved to London?
23.
And
That's right.
like were you passionate about dancing then? Like what were your goals at that time?
Well, that time was pretty much life was kind of tough in Lisbon to like start a life. So I was dating at the time with happened to be my daughter's father at the time. So it was my boyfriend since we were like 15, kind of sweetheart. And 10 years on in the relationship, and we're still living in parents' house. We were like, okay, we want to start a life together, but Portugal wasn't easy. So I had an opportunity to immigrate to a country who had you could get more money and better pay. I didn't finish my education, and neither did he, because of all these backgrounds. It wasn't, not in my case. My sisters did, but in my case, it wasn't that easy. So and not did he as well, because he also came from a single parent family, like most African families here. And so we immigrated to London to work so we can save money, buy a house, and start a life.
Yeah.
You know, that age in life where you want to start your own family. So dancing went from every weekend
once in a while
to London, zero dancing.
Wow.
To Leamington Spa, which is kind of a village in Oxfordshire. So it was very, very far, and there was no access to any dancing or anything. And it wasn't that easy. I mean, I was there to work 12-hour shifts.
What was your first job there?
At the time, I was a cleaner.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to clean tables and work in a service station. So we had 12-hour shifts, which were mostly 16-hour shifts, to be honest. Goodness. Most of the time we did. Yeah, so the contract was actually supposed to be 12-hour shifts, but we always end up doing 16. And we went to an agency. It was pretty much a con, because they promise you all these things, and then it was a trap, because what basically did is like, oh, you're gonna live in the house, you're gonna have your own room, you're gonna have a job, and you're gonna get these wages. And it was very nice, but what they didn't say is that when you get there, they would discount the foods, the bills, and everything. So we were pretty much left with no food, no money. Wow. So we had to go back home, or to even have any sort of intention. It was pretty much a trap, because they would have a van to pick us up and take us to work. We would work all the 12-hour shifts. We were allowed 2 meals, 1 meal and 1 snack throughout those 12 hours. And then another van will take you home. So you were pretty much at their mercy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we had no money for food, no nothing, and it was kind of tough. And I was only a young girl, very naive at the time. 24 doesn't mean you lived life.
Right, of course not.
So it was kind of tough, and there was no energy or time, or to dance or to do any of that. And I happened to fell pregnant pretty much the first 6 months.
Hey.
And it just take it to even complete worse.
Yeah, that's a lot going on.
Yeah, my life never been easy. It still isn't. So I never really was a part like where anything was like just simple and rosy and normal, I suppose, to the normal standards of life. Yeah, I fell pregnant, and then it's mommy time, baby time, and it was also time for him to meet other ladies, and then time for me to be the single mom that comes.
Okay, so I didn't know this. So you became a single mother yourself.
Pretty much, yes.
All right.
We had ups and downs, and
I understand.
Pretty rough, a rough.
Yeah. So I want, please tell me about that. What was it like being a single mother?
In UK, it was hard not to have family around, being such a family-orientated person that I was, and he was a very family-orientated himself. That's why we connected so well, and we were dating for 9-10 years by then.
A long time, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time. I didn't know life without him, pretty much. I didn't speak a word of English.
Wow.
Not speak a word of English when my baby was born, and I we didn't have nothing. So it was, to start with, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. So I moved in to some friends, and I lived in a room with the baby, and It was not easy. We tried to come back a couple of times, but he managed to always mess up.
Okay, I mean, I understand. Yeah.
Had a lady in the meantime, and then he left, and he goes and lives his life, and then he come back. And because I had that mentality of it's your baby father, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I kind of took it back, and you're not just when you meet someone at that age and you come from a culture like mine, you don't just have a relationship with him. You have a relationship with the family, with his family.
Right.
Right? So I had this strong connection with his mom and his sisters and everything that I found it very hard to disconnect with because like that I still had that connection with his mom and his sisters and so on. So I didn't quite split up, because he kind of left and he went to move on with someone else, but I was still very close to I still had his baby, right?
Yeah, of course. You're always gonna be tied to him for that.
Yeah, and he was a very good father in the sense that he would come and saw his daughter pretty much every weekend. He was a great dad, and I wouldn't choose anyone else to be the father of my child up to today's day. I stand by that. Just because we didn't work out doesn't mean he's I have a lot of respect and learn a lot, and I owe a huge part of me, the way I am, to him.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know my daughter is the most beautiful, gracious, smartest, wonderful child in the planet. She's gifted from God. She was designed by God.
That's awesome. That's
So
amazing.
because of him, it wasn't, it was, yeah. So I'm very fortunate like that because he was always present to his daughter.
Mm.
But things are not easy.
I understand. Yeah.
Life wasn't easy, but because of as a consequence of it. But yeah, but I don't want to live like it's just the way things lie. But yeah, it wasn't easy. However, it's a country that offers a lot of support for single mothers,
London.
especially financially. So I managed to have a reasonable, decent life with her because UK always has been wonderful to me, and I have my heart still lives there. So
Oh, you lived there for a while, right? Yeah.
I knew myself as a woman in England, and England accepted me in a way that Portugal never did.
Ah.
And so I entertaining going back here. It wasn't possible comparing to what I had offered in the UK, and it wasn't great. It was, I never really used the system. I could have because it was there for anyone to. I was work full time. I was pay rent. I never asked social house or anything like that. But I did have help, and just that you don't have to pay for books, and don't have to pay for medicine, and you don't have to pay for transport for children. Just that alone, it
helps.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I mean, it's in you don't, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand that.
That
So, I say so. So yeah, you're a single mother, raising your daughter and everything. Um, at what point do you start do you get back to dancing?
so I had every now and then my how do you say brother-in-law, which is my sister's husband even today, he always liked music, and I think he was been around music and producing music and so on. So every now and then he would record 3 or 4 CDs and he would send it to me. So I always listen to music at home in the CDs on the weekends and then during the week, just the same as what my mom was doing here, right? So my daughter had the same path from birth, culture, exposure to music and dancing the same way I did. The only difference is we didn't have the clubs, right? So I was, at one point my daughter was around 12, and I was living in Leamington Spa in this village, and my brother came to live in UK. We decided to open a business together, me and my brother. So I relocated to Reading, which is where my brother was living. So because I lived in many places, but it was Leamington, Reading, Reading, Leamington, and then back to Reading. Okay, so I came back. Just to make long story short, around 12, my brother moved to, my brother and me decided to open a business together. So I relocated to Reading with my daughter. And we started to go out dancing, and it was no dancing Kizomba, but there was salsa. And I told you that we have a very strong connection with Cuban music and salsa. And me and my brother used to go try and look for classes just so we could dance. I mean, and we felt this need of dancing, and you know, weekend, like, where's dance? And then we met. We saw a place they used to play Latin music, bachata, kizomba. Sorry, not kizomba at the time, just bachata and salsa. And we used to go there with our friends, you know. And we started to meet new people in these clubs that we used to go. It was usually literally one club, and we used to drive like 45 minutes to go to this club.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's crazy. Just so we could listen to music and dance.
Yeah.
Pretty much go every weekend, me and my brother, because her dad will come and pick her up on the weekends, so I was free to go.
Okay.
So we used to go out and all that, and we meet some people. And I don't know, a couple of years later, a friend of mine, one of the guys that we met in this dancing group, says to me, "Oh, I heard you got this dance called Kizomba." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's from my country." And he's like, "Really?" And yeah. Oh, because I was speaking to someone, and he's interested in doing a workshop in Reading. Would you be able to help? I'm like, "Sure, of course, count on me." I didn't thought any of it. To me, I did teach Kizomba to some occasionally friends who wanted to learn Kizomba so they could go to clubs. And me, my brother could dance, my friends will come in. I pretty much, my living room would be like a Kizomba class, because my brother's friends who wanted to learn Kizomba would come and dance with me because I was the girl, right? So my brother, they had to dance with me. So to me, the experience of teaching Kizomba to us has always been dance, go to the left, to the right, go. We would just go do it, go. And we just watch. No, it's not like that. You're not doing this right. You have to go left, right. You know, it wasn't the way we say it now with names.
Right. Yeah.
So none of this existed. It was dancing. And so this guy asked me for help. And then that's how we started. We set up the workshop. I helped. They liked the class, and then this is in Reading, and that's why you read my bio, and he said, "I am the founder of Kizomba Reading." He was with this guy. His name is Phil. Very grateful.
Okay. I thought it was Reading. Okay.
Say Reading in the UK. It's not the same, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, don't ask me why, but it's called Reading for the city, and then Reading, but it's spelled the same. So Phil find the place, and I said to him, "It's cool as long as he's doing it, you know, on the weekend, because I have a daughter." And that's how we kind of started. And I had the help of my sister. So my daughter's sister still became my best friend up to today's day.
Okay.
So she's my sister, but we still, you know, best friends, even though we lost connection a little bit in life. But in my heart, she's still my best friend. And I know in my heart, I'm still her best friend. But she helped me a lot. So we together, me, her, and Phil, we founded Kizomba Reading, which was just a club where we teach Kizomba. And
I want to ask you, so I know you were saying, you know, when you first taught Kizomba, you know, it was like go left, go right, you know, keep going. What was it like learning to teach Kizomba for you?
A mess. It was horrendous. It was horrible. I usually say this many times when we talk about Angolan teachers and people from the culture. We are just very good dancers learning to be teachers. We are very good dancers learning to be good teachers. We're at the start, when we started like 10, 15 years ago, we were terrible teachers because we had no idea how to teach. We didn't know any idea how to structure a class.
Yeah, you grew up doing it, right? It's just natural. It came natural.
It was a matter of listening to music and watching what your parents were doing.
Right.
And we just kind of mimic as a child.
Right.
When we mimic what parents do, you see, you do.
Exactly.
Literally like that. And I was looking a minute ago for photos of my brother, who has a 10-year gap with my sister, dancing with my sister in Angola, the younger sister. And just to show you how we do it, if I find that picture, I'll show you in a minute. But
I said the best thing is just to send it to me if you can, and I'll put it with the video and everything if you don't mind.
I'll do that in a minute. But it's a typical way how we used to dance. It was older brother with younger sister, and we don't think any of it. We just dance, right?
Yeah, right.
I learn. So to us, structuring a class was a complicated thing. We didn't understand, and with that process of just kind of like trying to teach something that was something so natural.
Right.
We did many mistakes.
Yeah.
Mistakes in the sense of things that we were crucial to teach, but in the process we didn't, because we assumed that you guys
exactly. Yeah, you gotta teach that like basic, right?
Now we're paying for it.
And can you give me an example, please?
Example, the culture, the fact that we didn't explain the music. We started to teach. Or even the fact that we adopted from, because what we did, we just went to the salsa places. Okay, that's how you do. People pay €5, €5 or $5, and you learn 5 steps. No problem, you can do that. Went to Kizomba, and that's what we did. People will come, pay £5, $5, €5, and learn steps. Well, in Kizomba, that doesn't work, because you have to talk about connection. You have to talk about, the different genders of different types, and dancing in circles and so on. So it didn't really work. So we started to teach routines. Kizomba is all about not dancing in routine.
Right.
Yeah, we teach you Saidas and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We never, ever, ever do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go 1, 2, 5. It's too much how we do. And we failed to teach you this, So people are still using counting to teach classes, is still using routines to teach classes, is still teaching steps as part, but they're forgetting to teach people how to enjoy dancing, connect with the music, dance without routines, feel.
It's a lot more to it than just
Yeah. So we're now trying to recover from all the mistakes we did in the past, and we're starting to trying to recover a little bit, but because we did a lot of mistakes. But it was not easy to start and to be recognized as a good teacher, but I never really took it serious myself. To me, it was just a place where I teach my friends how to dance Kizomba. That's how I always planned Kizomba Reading to be. I never planned it to be a huge thing. It was always Kat, my friend, who was saying, "Oh, you're going to be huge. I promise you, you're going to travel the world. I can see it. You have potential." I'm like, "Kat, I don't want any of that. I just want to dance with my friends." But every week, I had more and more people, and I couldn't understand why. And all of a sudden, I had people from Oxford coming to my classes. I had people coming from London. I had people coming from Southampton. And this is like an hour, 2 hours drive to come to my classes. Okay. And it became so big that I had to hire a DJ to come and because I could no longer accommodate this. And then on the process of starting to meet people, and I wasn't completely aware. I didn't know there was this movement of teaching Kizomba. I did not know.
Oh.
It was not until I've met some people in London as I was going out clubbing naturally on the weekends, that there was like, "Oh, so it's also teaching, so it's teaching." I'm like, "Really? Is this so people?" And then we started to connect, and we started to invite each other. I invited some to teach in Reading. They invited me to teach in London or in their places. And that's how I kind of started to become
teacher. Yeah. I'm curious. I hope you'll be okay with this. How do you know Pechu?
Oh, I only met Pechu years later. I mean, I was very fortunate. There was this, Rikita told you about Gwendolyn, remember?
Yes.
And
yes.
her path with the Kizomba. On this path, there was also another guy called Said. And Said was also Brenda Lima student who was very fond of him, and he learned a lot from him, and he loved Kizomba, and he became a very popular, very good dancer in London. And Said started to teach with Iris as well. Iris the Brit for a while, so he became part of Kizomba UK, and eventually he invited me to teach with him. And we became dance partners for a while, and we started to travel the world as dance partners, and that's how I kind of got known outside.
Ah.
It was with Said as Said's partner, but I was very lucky that Said always gave me room to speak and to put my
Okay.
into the dance. So in the UK I will teach by myself, and I did the whole going in a train for 2 hours just to go there, teach one class, going in a train for another 2 hours, or sleep.
Wow.
Now, so yeah, and I would be teaching in Reading one day, and Southampton the next day, Portsmouth the next day,
Wow.
the Tuesday, Wednesday. So I teach in a lot of villages and places in the UK, and I think that's how we all did. But abroad, I would teach with Said always, and Said was the one who was famous, and in the process, people get to know me. That's how I met Pechu.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Hey everyone, if you made it this far to all to the end of the video, I want to thank you so much. My overall goal with making these interviews and these episodes is to give a voice to dancers, to give them a platform to speak their story. So if this is of value to anyone, then that means the world to me. My overall goal is to give value to the dance community. So if you find no value in this, then I urge you to please let me know where I can improve on. I truly want to, just give value and content to the dance community. So please let me know how I can improve, where I'm messing up, because to be 100% honest with you, I'm learning along the way as I do this. I truly am. So to be able to interact with the dance community, it means the world to me, because it gives me feedback and it lets me know what I'm doing right, where I can improve upon, what I'm doing wrong, which I feel like might maybe more important. So please, if you all could comment and just let me know what you think, it means the world to me, because that feedback just helps me improve. So please comment as well. Please like and subscribe. That means a lot as well. But I want to say thank you so much for just watching this, because it means the world to me. I want to take you on this journey, the Two Left Feet podcast. I'm very excited for it. So once again, thank you so much.